Welcome back to our international talk show, Briggs on Books. We're talking people all over the world today, starting in England and then San Francisco, and we're making a full circle all the way back here to California. Our next guest has written a very, very important book, I think we're going to find. Our guest is Lisa Goodpaster. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you for having me.
This is a fascinating subject. I think it's very important. I'm glad I found you when we did, because I think a lot of people can use this book and help with their lives. Tell us a little bit about it. Oh, by the way, I should say the name, Alienated, When Parents Won't Parent. You guys know people like that? Tell us about it, Lisa.
So the book Alienated, When Parents Won't Parent, because that's what it feels like when you grow up. Some of your parents divorce, and there's a lot of chaos, and unfortunately, a lot of times parents miss the signs. And divorce is traumatic for parents, and it never stops for the kids.
Never stops, the trauma. By the way, when I was growing up in the 1960s, on our block, there was one divorced family, and it was just like, shocker, that there'd be a divorce. But now, about half of people are divorced, I think.
We've normalized divorce in our society. And I'm not saying people that don't like each other should stay married. It's just my book opens up, and it's really informative because it helps both parents and that young adults understand, hey, it may be kind of your fault, Mom and Dad, and I'm not being a brat about it, but this has affected me in so much. It can affect a child in so many ways that most kids don't even grieve their parents' divorce. Yeah. Right? We know it's traumatic, but why? And we know it's in part of the ACE score, which is how we grade trauma. Yet kids from divorce, we don't have any agency. We don't know why. And then we grow up in the world and we start to have all these things spiral out of control or pop up. And even in, regular people that say, well, they're not regular, but when they commit something really wrong, they always go back. When did this start? It's always in childhood. And divorce is usually the marker. Yeah. So my book points out the dangers of when parents don't co-parent. And there's a term out there, it's called parental alienation, and that's what happened to me. Basically, I was brainwashed to believe that both my parents were bad. So in a sense, I was alienated from both my parents, specifically my mom, and it took 40 years to untangle. And if you're a parent out there that has older kids that, struggle, my kids want nothing to do with me. And it was implanted false belief system. Yeah. And I never stopped to try to figure it out. And with so many step families and so many parents that are, we're losing sight of our families. They're getting ripped apart. And to understand that sometimes it takes introspective as a parent. Okay, maybe something went wrong and I need to look into this. And that's exactly what happened to me in my case. It's like it was that kid that would never stop. Mom, Dad, something went wrong. And they're just like all parents. We don't want to go there. Yeah. And then I remembered the proof. And both of my parents read what I had to read growing up. And they both, when you're talking high conflict parents that don't like each other, finally, after it took 40 years to untangle this.
By the way, I meant to ask you this early on because the name of your website is fascinating, stephoodproject.org. Tell me about that.
So the Stephood Project is bringing awareness to other survivors like myself who felt disfranchised or felt like their parents didn't understand what was going on. So it's bringing awareness and starting a conversation on, okay, how do we repair these relationships? How do we get past the trauma and figure out what we can do?
And by the way, just us talking just a few minutes, I feel like I know people very closely that I should get this book and give it to them.
I hear that a lot, yes.
Maybe any parent where the mothers and fathers are, butting heads and heading towards the inevitable, maybe they should read this book. What do you think?
Absolutely. It's actually endorsed by one of the top psychologists in the country.
Yeah.
They had to read. So what's included in the book is the actual script that was read. So this is a malignant narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's included in the book. So parents can see, wow, this is what goes on.
Yeah. So maybe rather than waiting until you've totally damaged your kids and you know you're heading that way, maybe a book like this from somebody who's been through it, lived through it, survived it very well, obviously, maybe it'd be a good idea for them to start thinking about their kids first, or maybe get some instruction, for example, from this book.
Yeah, it's been described as the book, like we don't have a book on parenting on what to do,
Yeah.
but this book right here is what not to do. Like what not to do when you are going through a divorce, if you're struggling to have that relationship with your young adult child.
Mm-hmm.
It really sheds light.
Right. So one of your points, I think, is that you're just leaving the kids out in the dark. The parents are working through this thing, and the kids just pushed aside. Nobody's sitting them down and talking to them and kind of coaching them through this.
Right. Parents tend to think that, well, the kids, they don't know what they're talking about. They're brainwashed. They're too young. And a lot of times they focus on the reactions and the behavior. But those are the clues that something is happening, not that something is wrong with them.
Right.
So these are just like the tools and information to help parents. And it even gives parents kind of like, why does this happen? Like, mm-hmm. not attending to your child's emotions.
Right.
Well, if you didn't learn if your parents didn't teach you, how are you going to teach your kids?
Yeah.
And it's all normal, but we've kind of, stepped away from that, and it's time to turn back and do what's right for our kids. And it's never too late.
Right. Oh, never too late. That's a good message.
It's never too late. If it took me and my mom 40 years
yeah.
of a million triggers to finally, for her to read what I had to go through.
Yeah. Wow.
She awakened.
I don't know if you know anybody who adopted a child, but my goodness, what they put those parents through before they could get a kid. They're trained to be a parent, but most of us, we're just thrown into parenting. We have no training, no idea how to do it. And many people, as you said, their parents didn't do that good either. So where do you learn that?
Right.
This is my thought is for our viewers, if you're going to go buy this book, and it sounds like anybody could benefit from this book, because if it's not you, you have nieces or nephews or somebody you know. So when you go to Amazon or wherever you buy your books and go to click it 5 times, order 5 copies and give them away, you guys. What a great way to maybe help a family, someone you know, or yourself or your spouse or something like that. I think this sounds like I'm really glad you did it. It was a struggle. You went through a lot to get to where you are now, Lisa?
Yeah, it wasn't easy. I know you see this smile, but mm-hmm. No, it was, the first 7 years were really important, and then the rest was cautionary. What saved me was that I got away, raised my son, I was a flight attendant. Everything that could go wrong also went right. Mm. So I'm very grateful for that. And, this has been easy to do, to try to get parents that are, not wanting to face, okay, maybe I did something wrong. I even did things wrong, and I wasn't alienated or estranged from my parent.
Yeah.
So, parenting is hard, but it's even harder when you know that your child is hurting and you can't help them. Right. So what if you could?
What if you could?
And that's what my parents did, was that they owned their parts, and that helped me heal. Mm-hmm. And there's tips in here and things, even doctors, even psychologists give them away to their clients.
Oh, that's nice, yeah.
Yeah.
So parents, know this in advance. You don't know what you're doing. People don't know what they're doing, and that's okay. But don't just rest on that. Go find out what's going on in your life. And it sounds like all parents might be able to benefit from this, even if they're not getting divorced.
Absolutely. Anyone that has gone through, even parents that have gone through childhood trauma themselves, it will help them, because I take it in a way where I share my experience so others can feel theirs.
Great.
And I just want everyone to know it's about awareness. It's okay it's uncomfortable. It's supposed to be. It's okay. It's just, what kind of legacy do you want to leave for your kids? Do you want them to confront the uncomfortable, or do you want them to repeat that?
Yeah. And by the way, we have, besides the web addresses on the screen, stephoodproject.org, we also have your Instagram on the screen, lisa.goodpaster. Find this book, you guys. Buy some, give them away. Let's get this book out there. It's very important. And even if you think you're the perfect parent, you probably get something out of this book. So, Lisa, we're running up against our time restraint. What else do you want our viewers to know?
I want them to know that in order to help change our climate with our kids, I want them to know that this is a start, is by understanding your child's experience, whether they're little or whether they're adults. This will help everyone get closer, or if you're gonna get married, even what not to do when you get married and have kids, or if you decide to get a divorce. Because the number one thing it's about is about our attachment to our parents. And that is a biological need to connect.
Wow.
And when that attachment is frayed, the parent nor the child, no matter what, it hurts.
It hurts,
and what do we do when we hurt? We numb ourselves. So this can help with addiction, to all kinds of, things that we do as humans to cover up the pain.
Yeah. Lisa, a lot of people go to college for a lot of years to study this kind of thing, but you lived through it, and what a better person to hear it from somebody who lived through it and came out the other end and maybe even fix some things in their life. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you for having me.
And real quick, where can people get the book?
You can find it on Amazon.com. There's a link also on my website, and just plug in Alienated when parents won't parent, and it pops up.
How about this, everybody? Go to stephoodproject.org. You'll find the book there. You'll find it on Amazon. Thank you, Lisa. I want to have you back again and again.
I'd love to. Thank you.
And we will be back with more Briggs on Books right after this.